boyfriends that are manufactured based on artificial intelligence. I can't think of anything that could be more consequential at this moment in time. And you know what, I'm joking, but as I'm saying it, I'm realizing there's something kind of true about that because this is dramatically changing the way people are dating. What's the latest update in how certain platforms are relying on AI to make matches in the dating game?
Right. Well, this is actually a really interesting story because there's this narrative that's been emerging over the past few years that this AI boom in the basically the girlfriend and boyfriend business has very much been a male-driven phenomenon. Men seeking female companionship and basically buying these AI chatbots to become their partners. And actually, there's a news story in Axios that came out this week that says that more and more women are developing relationships with AI chatbots. Now, for the uninitiated, the AI chatbots are essentially these customizable AI image-generated avatars where you can give it prompts, you can give it a name, and you can basically tailor their personalities and even their appearance. But the interesting thing here is that data from the last 5 years showed that searches for AI boyfriends, not girlfriends, were 13 times higher than their counterparts. So a really interesting change in the narrative there.
Really interesting. Actually, another thing in the artificial intelligence space, Tinder announced this week that it will have an AI feature, which allows you to put Tinder into your camera roll, essentially, and select the best possible pictures. And this gets to the broader question of artificial intelligence and dating, because even people say silly things when people are dating online, meeting through the DMs or meeting through Bumble or whatever it is. There are physical cues that people give in person that, it's even like pheromones, like basically, as silly as that sounds, smell, that help them understand whether or not they'll be a good match. And when you meet in person, you can just have a completely different interaction. We've all seen Catfish. I've probably seen 3,000 episodes of Catfish, to put it conservatively, conservative figure on it. But in all seriousness, when you're outsourcing the job of putting your best foot forward to a machine, it's just going to, it's in the name of optimizing our ability to make romantic connections, but it seems actually like it might be counterproductive to that end. And you're about to define for me a term that I wish you hadn't chosen to define for me and the wonderful audience. And I think it's fictosexual. Fictosexual?
Yes.
Do we need this, James?
I'm sorry that I had to be the one to share this with our audience.
Again, you are not sorry. You are absolutely
sorry.
not
I'm
sorry.
pleased to share this.
Yes.
So, as you just mentioned, there's something called the rise of fictosexuals, and essentially this is a sexual attraction to fictional characters. Now, this is actually quite a big phenomenon in Japan over the last 2 or so decades with the rise of anime characters and men developing these pretty deep relationships with these imaginary characters on their screen. And essentially what this is doing is that it's encouraging, here's another term, parasocial relationships. And a parasocial relationship is basically this one-sided relationship where all the emotional labor comes from one person, one individual, and it's basically projected onto whoever this avatar is, whether that's an anime character, whether that's a Hinge match, although Hinge match, hopefully they might reply, or these AI chatbots. Now, the appeal of it is that it becomes much more frictionless, and they don't have to deal with the messiness of a human relationship and all that involves. The flip side is that they never say no. And I think that kind of feeds into this almost like safety narrative that's emerged on campus culture where people want to have that sense of emotional security and they want to be protected from all kinds of harms. And I think that's really what's driving this new phenomenon. I think it's a really interesting one.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's the confluence of safetyism and high-tech social life. And I think obviously those two feed off of each other, but when you combine them into something like dating and romance, you realize, I don't even mean this pun, the undercurrent of culture, Western culture, Japanese culture, for example, is being built on really shaky ground, which is people choosing to mate with fictosexual partners, and it's obviously on the fringe right now. Who knows where that goes in the future? There's a quote that haunts me that Susie Weiss reported out, I think it was like a couple years ago now. It was a young man in the UK who talked to her anonymously and said, basically with pornography, online gaming, you can get all of the challenges that you used to get in a real social life. Whether that was like hunting and gathering. He's like, you can get that in gaming with competition as a man. Sex, you can get through porn. Like you basically don't need to leave your house. You can numb the upset with weed. You can numb it with all kinds of like food and candy and booze and whatever, and you can live a simulation. This is a quote from this young person. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the Undercurrents channel, and I'll see you back here soon.